Alright, everybody, welcome to today's video. What if the UK formed an empire? Before I get into this, I would like to just let you know that you should like and subscribe if you enjoy and want to see more content like this. Next, I might do this little fella over here, the Czech Republic or Czechia, whatever. Well, anyways, let's get started. So the UK has a bunch of different places where it could go, but one thing that the UK is known for is that it's an island, right? Yes, the UK is an island, and in the history they liked colonizing islands. Cyprus. And so where do you think they're going to go? So this war isn't going to be very close. The UK militarily is up there right now. It's an invasion on Icelandic core territory. As you know, Iceland is full of mountains, and it's very cold, so most of the populated center is over here, so all it needs to do is get about there. That's exactly what it does. It makes a landing here on the tip of Iceland, pushes over, and it captures Reykjavik. And this war is over as quickly as it started, with them pushing up slightly to the northern bits and pushing in slightly. Iceland surrenders. In this peace deal, we see full annexation by the British. So now where are the British going to go? Well, historically, there are a few places which Britain has owned. Some places off the coast of France. But most importantly, the only place they share a border with, Ireland. Overnight, the British invade Ireland. Go in from Northern Ireland and take out the northernmost bit of Ireland and push down around the coastal areas. And now, credit where credit is due, Ireland is a pretty strong country, but they're not strong enough to beat the British back. So they beat them back to their border, but that's about all that they can do. Britain pushes down the coast and reaches their capital, Dublin, and this war is basically over. See full annexation by the British onto the Irish. Now, doesn't this look so much better on a map? Well, anyways, the next place they're going to go is Norway. Overnight, the British declare war on Norway and land some forces in there. They make a few landings around pretty important parts of Norway and make a giant encirclement down in the south. And if you think that yes, this is a bit unrealistic, but in this scenario, the British are buffed, and the British are already, I think, the sixth strongest country in the world currently. So I do not think that they would have an issue. They encircle Oslo and slowly capture the city. With this, there are a bunch of Norwegians fighting still, but as they push up past mountain, somehow, they get all of the populated areas of Norway and stages their own invasion into Norway, taking some of the northernmost parts. And Britain is mostly fine with this because they didn't want that area anyways. So with the pressure of two giants crashing down on them, they surrender. In this peace deal, we see that the British have not fully annexed but taken the areas that are surrounding the North Sea. Except for some areas up here. And Finland got to this border right here. I know it might be hard to see, but now Finland actually has some Arctic coast now. After you invade Norway, where do you go next? The answer is Sweden. The British friend Finland and their puppet Norway have both declared war too. The British start their invasion into Swedish territory by going from the populous bits. Now, Sweden is a pretty powerful country, so they're going to meet some resistance. They try their best to reach Sweden's capital, Stockholm. They do pretty good, and they cut off this northern bit of Sweden, but no one really cares about that bit. They mostly care about this area right here. But, credit where credit is due, the Swedes are able to push back here. Luckily for the British, their friend Norway pushes them and creates a giant front line with Sweden here, pushing in from all angles, and the Finns. So the Finns start making giant progress on the exhausted Swedes, and they start gaining some big lands. So now with the Finns And so now with the Fens coming up from the north and the British coming here, they encircle this massive region and take it all out. So now Sweden is basically just the important parts, and the Finnish troops and the British troops slowly start reaching down the coast. And now this is something that would take a while to achieve, but slowly they start reaching the very important parts. I believe we're just going to say, for intent to purpose, their capital is there. So the British try their best to encircle it with both sides, but the Swedes are not having any of that, and they're cutting this off and pushing slightly towards their more valuable territory down here. However, with this army, they've neglected the Finns, so this has given them more of an opportunity to refine their area, and now Sweden has been pushed completely from all of its coast, and now it is being pushed in. So we're going to say that the capital's there. So again, they try to encircle, but this time the Swedes barely don't get encircled, but they lose most of their land down here. They finally start losing, and then the gates of the city are surrounded, and the city is taken. Sweden is knocked out of this war. The peace treaty, we again do not see full annexation, but they're puppet of Norway, and they have a new puppet named Sweden. This is their ally, Finland. The alliance is now official. So now where do they go from here, you may ask? Well, the answer is actually a few countries. The Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark. So initially, this war goes pretty well, all things considered. They push deep into Danish territory, capture this island, and then Copenhagen Island. They make some landings. They get close to Amsterdam, but they do not reach it yet. They go around this. They don't really touch Belgium yet, but they touch this area for coastal defense. But then something bad happens. Germany joins the war. It's still a very powerful country, but it's not as strong as Britain. But Britain is worried that with this German action, there might be some resources cut off, or just their power alone. With them and the Netherlands is a relatively strong country, as well as kind of Denmark in a few ways. So they're a bit worried. So initially, Germany pushes the British almost entirely out of Luxembourg, out of the western coastal areas, but not this island, and out of Copenhagen Island, which I believe it's called. And they start a mainland invasion of the British territory over here. And they also kick out to this area in Belgium. So it looks pretty good, but the British are coming. And they land in strategic ports in Germany. So the British like to do something sometimes. And so the British, I guess you could say, funding rebellions. And where you think there would be a good rebellion, you might ask? Well, one area in Germany that has a bit of different culture is majority Catholic. It's called Bavaria. So Britain funds Bavarian rebels. Even though the separatist movement in these areas are not that big, I know that. They don't really have to be. This is just for the scenario. Bavaria breaks away. And now with this new thing, the Germans go in and try to capture Munich. So Munich, I believe, is about there or something. I know it's a big Bavarian city. And so they reach towards there. But with this happening, the British also fund another revolution, this time in Belgium. The entire lower part of Belgium, which I can't remember if it's Flanders or Wallonia, I believe it is Wallonia, breaks away, even though this isn't their borders. Belgium knows it's screwed, so Belgium gives up. Luxembourg also gives up. The Dutch don't really have any regions to rebel, but they kind of just get really screwed up, and they give up. The Danish get taken over. Danish get taken over after they lose to Copenhagen, and after some more British uprisings in Saxony, the Germans make the smart move to surrender. All right. So this is the peace treaty we're looking at. Britain is go ahead and annex some of northern Germany, all of Denmark, all the Netherlands, all of Luxembourg, and all of Belgium. The Bavarians have been unified with the Austrians since they're culturally pretty similar. The Saxons have been conquered by the Germans because I don't even think that they wanted independence to begin with, because they're basically just Germans. So that wasn't gonna last. But now the British are pretty strong. They have this whole Northern Empire going on. The British declare war on their greatest rival in history, France. Immediately to come to the aid of France is Italy and Spain, but Britain has another trump card up their sleeves. Portugal. All right. So immediately, since the British are the aggressors in this war, they had time to prepare. They stormed the northern coast of France from the lowlands. They go straight in and storm it. Now, Paris is about there, geographically speaking, so Britain knows it won't be able to get there yet, but it's going to try its best. They grab Alsace-Lorraine from the French, and they continue upon the coast. They also make several naval landings along Brittany. And since Spain joined, they fund some rebellious groups in Spain, such as Galicia, the Basque people, which I know it's around this area, and Catalonia, which is the one basically all of us know about. So French, also parts of France are Catalonian. Italy doesn't have very many groups that want to be separatists, so they're just gonna leave that alone for now. But they're also the British Navy is gonna go straight around and take out these islands, because you know that Britain loves islands, and now they are in control of these islands, as well as a naval landing on Sicily and the boot of the Italian peninsula, and some landings along the French coast. So now it looks like the British are definitely winning this war, but it's time for the counteroffensive. France pushes them out of Normandy and almost completely out of Brittany, except for this little spot. They make a giant encirclement of this area, and they push it until it's basically out, just a few more pixels. And the lowland front, they try their best to get them away from Paris, going with a strike up, and they encircle the troops in Alsace-Lorraine and take that province back. They keep going to the border until most British troops are out of this area. Push the British out of their territory. They make some gains into the lowlands, where the Dutch are quick to rebel, followed by the Belgians. And now this war is not going great for the English. The French Navy is nothing compared to the Royal Navy, so they don't get any area done down there, but they do continue to push up from the lowlands, liberating Luxembourg and most of the Netherlands. The British do some work in here, but this is not really what they're worried about. They try to go back and down and take Brussels, which goes well, but that's not their main priority. Their main priority is going up here. So now they make a ginormous spearhead and start to define it a bit and try to push towards Paris. They make a re-landing on the coast and start sweeping through all of Brittany, where they take all of it over. They keep going and cross the Channel so that London is safe, and start flanking these French resources from behind. The French try to take it back, however, they're not doing well until this entire area is encircled. So now the French are trying to make a desperate plea to, get out of the land. You're about to die. So the French resources break through the lines and get out. But not before some of them being encircled right around there. The British continue their invasion in and make a spearhead towards Paris, which is successful, and they capture Paris. So now France isn't going to surrender, but they're not looking great here. So the French are mostly going to take out defensive strategies. The British have gotten the entire island of Sicily and started their journey up the Italian peninsula with some bombing raids other places. They continue their front up from here and cut Italy and France off from each other and encircle Italian and French forces in this region. So now Italy is alone in this war. So Italy makes the smart call since they're being pushed out and leaves the war. Spain continues to get pushed around by literal Portugal, so I don't know how, but with all the British troops and the British Navy, and the British also cascading up from Gibraltar, the Spanish follow suit. Now all that's left is the French, and after the massive encirclement and surrender here, the French see no purpose in this war anymore, and they surrender. You can see now the borders of Britain are ginormous. They stretch all the way up from Iceland all the way down to Gibraltar and down to Sicily and the boot of the Italian peninsula. Now, realistically, would Britain be able to get all these lands? No, they would not. And France is mad, except they're not because they're a puppet now. And they're now called Gallia because Britain hates them that much. Now that Britain is a giant threat to the map, a few countries decide to band together. Immediately, the British are caught off guard, and Russia starts its advance into Finland. Russia starts its invasion into Finland, and Finland does not like this one bit. So they start advancing, but then Russia realizes that they're Finland. So Finland, of course, does a Finland and kicks Russia out of their country. Wow! How could I have known? And they don't just do that. Oopsies. They go into Kola and cut it off from the rest of the Russian forces. The Russians are now scared. The Russians are now very scared. They cut in and they take all of the Kola Peninsula because no one lives there. Now they're threatening St. Petersburg, which is about there. So they're going in towards St. Petersburg, and Russians are scared. Even though they had all of this time to prepare, they're not good at invading Finland. This is something that stays the same. I have no idea how all of the Baltics are, kind of with them, so no idea, man. No idea. Ukraine does make some steady progress because Russia did not know that they would be doing this, and they kick all Russians out of their territory that were previously there and keep going. They have a vengeance against Belarus, so they go into that. But Poland does exist, credit where credit's due, and they do push very far into Ukrainian lines. I forgot to color in Slovakia. The Czechs are not very powerful, but I don't care. So they invade Slovakia and take their capital, Bratislava. So we're just gonna already kick out this country. But yeah, it wasn't gonna go well. The Poles storm through the Czech Republic and take them on. They take most of their Moravian lands and close in the Bohemian ones and close in on Prague. The Czechs weren't ever going to last that long. They managed to liberate all of Slovakia and keep their push into Ukraine going steady. Push into that. All right. The Finns have a vengeance, so they're going after Estonia, and Estonia is like, why did I join this war? So Estonia is just gonna go ahead and surrender to Finland because they're good friends. And then the Finns go directly into Latvia. Lithuania is scared. The British make a landing on the Kaliningrad Oblast and some areas in Poland, which causes a slight withdrawal because your capital's like there. So you don't really want to lose that. So they go in, start making a little push towards there to get some areas, off of to get some pressure off of the Czechs. So the Czechs start pushing back against them, and they retake, I think, all of the Bohemian lands. So now they push and almost take back all their country and dip slightly into Slovakia for some reason. I don't know, man. And the Poles pull back the Ukrainian front lines enough so that the Ukrainians can push the Poles out of their country entirely. So now this war is going pretty good for the Red Team now, but that can change at the drop of a hat. They circle in and take out the Baltics. Lithuania is still here because they still have their capital. Riga was taken a long time ago. But yeah, they push in and take the capital. Lithuania is now gone. And with this, they cut off Poland from the rest. So Poland decides that it'd be good if they tried negotiated peace. And the Czechs retake all their lands. Now the Russians are peeing their pants. The Finns take St. Petersburg, as well as the areas around it, and start pushing into Belarus. And so now the Russians are scared. So now the Russians are going to do the logical thing and surrender. Wrong color. And surrender. Well concluded for today's scenario. The British are massive, spanning now all the way from the westernmost province of Lithuania down all the way to the southern tip of Iberia and all the way to the north tip of Iceland, with allies like Greater Finland, which is about anything they could have ever wanted, Greater Ukraine, which is about everything they could have wanted, Czechoslovakia, basically. Czechoslovakia with the Silesian territories that they had under some Austrian rule for a little bit before Prussia gained them. And this is going to do it for today's scenario. With their puppet of France, their allies of Portugal, Catalonia. This is going to do it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure to smash like.